I'm going to start this video with the question that has always repeated itself throughout the ages, since the dawn of mankind, for as long as we have been on this earth. Many, many people have asked themselves this question, which is, what is the meaning of life? And the answer to that question perhaps is much more simpler than some people may think. Throughout time, there have been wise men and women in our history that have given their interpretation and their view on the answer to this question. But to simplify it all and make it easy for anyone to understand, this may sound weird to some people, because not everyone will have that view on life and what it means to be here, right? There are those of us that believe that you come here, you're born, you live your life, you die, and it's over. There's nothing beyond that point. And it's okay if you think that, although it is a narrow viewpoint and it's naive to see things that way. But the truth, simply speaking, is that everything is consciousness. Everything. And that's all that there is to it. And we are all a part of it, a piece of it. So there isn't a grand answer, so to speak, to that question. There is no reason to overanalyze it, overcomplicate it. And although we do set some sort of, parameters for what we would want to experience when we come here, but we don't remember what those parameters were because, we get like some sort of memory wipe in the process once we are born. It's just the way the game is played. There's nothing we can do about that. Unless you're lucky enough to be one of the few that can remember certain things, but that's a very small group of people, very, very small. And some people sometimes remember some things, and then as they grow older, they forget. That's the other thing. But to put it simply, yeah, everything is consciousness. We're all consciousness, all of it. This whole place, and all the other places that we can't see with our physical eyes, everything is consciousness. We are consciousness. So, to simplify it again, there are those of us who think that, there's a purpose for us to be here. We have a purpose, right? So many people talk about the purpose. What is my purpose? What am I here to do? What is my life supposed to be like? What did I come to do here? And I think the answer to that is to simply be. The simple answer. And as we begin to remember our true nature and who we truly are and what we truly are, where do we really come from, right? This whole thing about consciousness. When we begin to remember these things, that's when we realize that the answer is a lot simpler than some people may think. There is no grand purpose in the way people may think. Yeah, there are those of us that are gifted and have some innate abilities and skill sets to do certain things better than others. Yeah, it's understandable. That's how it works, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the purpose that people think that they may have is related to that skill set and those abilities and these things. I think that a simple way to explain this to anyone is that we come here to just live, to just experience things. That is the whole purpose. That's it. It's that simple. But I think it begins to be much more enjoyable and satisfactory and clear when you realize and you begin to remember these things, right? When you remember your true nature, what you truly are, which is consciousness, before anything else. And that simply by being here, breathing, existing right now at this very moment, that is the whole point. And as we begin to remember these things, though, we will realize that there's no need for any of this drama that we all get, so entangled and attached with. Once you begin to realize all these things, you're gonna begin to understand that to have regrets, to have remorse, to have resentment of any kind, it's absolutely pointless. Because that's not what life is all about. Life is about just being yourself and who you truly are. And once you begin to live your life that way and you embody that, truly, a lot of these fake aspects of things, a lot of this facade, a lot of this masquerade, a lot of these fake constructs that exist, they dissolve. They don't even exist anymore in your reality, because you understand that this is all some sort of like projection of everybody's consciousness combined. There has to exist this place where you can all experience these things. So our consciousness, or what I like to call the consciousness field, it creates it all so that we can be here, right? And experience all of these things that happen to every single one of us. The good, the bad, the pain, the joy, the love, the suffering. Because some of these experiences, some of these feelings, some of these emotions, they do not exist in the higher realms, in the upper realms, in the higher dimensions. That stuff does not exist. So in order for you to know what these things are and how they are, we have to come here, right? That's it. That's it. There isn't a secret formula, and there so many people throughout time have come and gone and talked about these things ad nauseum at this point, right? From different angles, different perspectives, different points of view, explained it from their own experiences, so to speak. But we all come here to experience things our own way, through our own lens, through our own perspective. And yeah, a lot of these things are going to be universal for everybody, but there's also the personal part. And I think that's the important key that most people miss. There are all the personal aspects of these things that they are going to be, they're only going to be valid to you. They're only going to be meant to you in its own way. I don't know how else to explain this. And once we understand these things, everything becomes so much more clear, understandable, digestible, acceptable, right? The problem is the way that we react to a lot of these things, a lot of these experiences that I'm talking about, is that because of the conditioning, the external factors, the fabric of society in general, the cultural aspect of things, all of these things combined, the things that man has developed and designed, the things that we use on a daily basis that exist now, that are part of our daily lives in one way or another, all of these things, they interfere with the process in their own way, for good or for bad. It all depends how we all take it in. And I think that that's an issue for a lot of people, because the way a lot of people react to what everyone would categorize as the negative experiences that people have in life, it would be to victimize themselves. And it's like I said, it's because of all these factors that I just mentioned. It's because of all the conditioning and all these things. People victimize themselves instead of looking at it from the perspective that it's just life doing its own thing. And life does not ask permission to continue the flow of events that are probably most likely meant to be a part of your life as you navigate through it all. The universe doesn't need your permission to do what it has to do. The consciousness field does what it wants to do. It's never going to ask you, are you okay with it? That would defeat the whole purpose of this entire thing that we call life. The experience of living, breathing, being. So yeah, perhaps there might be moments where you will feel like it's not fair. But that's because we have a very narrow view of the whole scope. If we could see it as it truly is, we wouldn't see it that way. We wouldn't feel that way. So the discernment matters so much. The presence, the awareness, all of these things, that's what makes the difference when we go through all of these things. Because this is so cliche, right? But everything happens for a reason. Everything. Including you coming across this video for whatever reason. Everything happens for a reason. It's always going to be that way. Nothing is random in creation and how the universe operates. Nothing is random. Everything is based upon some rules, some parameters, and some mechanics that are a part of the whole process. And all of these things are regulated by consciousness itself and the field that it creates based upon the totality of everything and everyone combined. So all of these things that we experience, all the things that humanity has experienced right now, it's all a combination of all of these things. And eventually, later down the road, at some point in the perhaps not so distant future, it could be the distant future, I don't know, I don't have all the answers, right? Natural order will restore itself when things begin to get too wacky and too crazy. It's just the way it is. It's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. That'll never change. So complaining is not going to do you any favors. Just keep that in mind. On the contrary, it probably will make it worse. Just remember, this is all temporary. And in the grand scheme of things, it's just a little part of it. That's all that there is. And when we leave this realm one day, we're going to remember all these things. We're going to look back at some of these things and we're going to just chuckle at ourselves because that's the way it is. The same way I'm chuckling here right now, we're going to be chuckling. There's not much more to talk about here. I just wanted to talk about this subject because I think it's people make such a big deal out of this sometimes, you know. What is the meaning of life? And the answer is a lot simpler than you think. Just be yourself and just live your life without regrets, without remorse, without resentment, without fear. Live your life with love, loving yourself, knowing that this is all just a little part of it. It's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. You see. I'm going to leave it at this. Just be yourself and just live. If you like the content, don't forget to click the like button, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you all on the next one. Be safe. Take care. Much love to you all.